Hey guys, this is why we accept the love we think we deserve. Why is this important? Because every relationship you've ever had and every relationship you will have can be completely related to this quote. And I'm going to tell you why in this video. So for an example, someone with very high self-esteem knows that they deserve someone who maybe earns a really good living and treats them like a princess and is a really sweet person who really looks out for people and is really compassionate and gives them the time of day and always makes sure that they're looked after. Whereas on the flip side, someone with low self-esteem might think, oh, like he hasn't messaged me back, or it's been a few weeks, like he'll get round to it. Maybe he's busy, maybe he's got other things on, like he told me his mum was sick, so maybe it's that. Like, I'm gonna let that go. I'm just gonna wait around until he comes back, he'll come back. Like, I really like him. Like, they kind of just let things go, like they're a bit more low-key about things. They don't have so much of a standard that people have to stick to in their relationships. As a personal example, when I was first dating, so I was really young, I had very low self-esteem. I didn't think I was pretty. I didn't think I was beautiful. I didn't know if anyone would ever love me. I had all these big fears in the back of my mind. I think as we all kind of do before our first relationship, like, oh, I've never been kissed. Is that going to be a problem? Like, cute little teenagerness. The way I went into my first relationship was, well, I'm not sure if anyone's ever going to love me, so I'm going to take anyone who is willing to give me a shot, kind of thing. And so my first relationship came along and it was not great. But that was the standard I had. I was willing to just see what happened, and any guy that I was kind of interested in that was interested in me was good enough. So that's an example of a low self-esteem relationship. And he wasn't very nice to me. He wasn't very sweet to me. He actually wanted to give me a go, but that was probably the only redeeming quality in that relationship. So from then on, I kind of learned, okay, now I want someone who's kind and I want someone who's sweet. And I think I'm worthy of love because this other guy's dated me, so I don't see why it'd be such a big deal. If another guy came along, like it's going to happen. It's fine. I don't need to stress. And then I kind of moved up the ranks a little bit. And then my next relationship from then on had more merits. They were a lot sweeter to me. They were a lot kinder to me. And that's more what I was looking for in a partner. So I kind of chipped away at it and eventually got to a point where I knew exactly what I wanted and what I didn't want out of a relationship. And I think learning the lessons that come with relationships can kind of help you get there. So you might be someone who knows exactly what they want. I want someone who treats me really well and is really kind and is really funny and like knows what he wants in life, has ambition, things like that. That's all well and good. You could put that out to the universe for days. You could put that on a vision board. You could be saying that for law of attraction, trying to attract that every single day. And you could be putting in so much effort to try and find this guy in your life. But if you subconsciously believe that you're not worthy of this or that you don't deserve it, there's one of two things that are going to happen. That person's never going to come into your life because you don't think you deserve it, and you'll probably just leave anyway, And two, he might come into your life, you might end up in a relationship with him, but you're going to be so worried about him finding out about your flaws the whole time, you're probably just going to self-sabotage it anyway. You're probably going to be so anxious and like, oh, he's going to leave any minute, he's too good for me, he does this, he does that, I'm not good enough, that you're going to subconsciously push him away. I think it's so important, and I think this is why people say you need to love yourself first. Because self-worth, how much you love yourself, and relationships are inextricably linked. They go hand in hand. One without the other doesn't work. I think that's what it means by we accept the love we think we deserve. We really need to be on top of loving ourselves so that we can attract someone who can love us back and can love us the way we want to be loved. If you don't know how to love yourself, how do you truly know what someone giving you love actually looks like? If you have low self-worth and you get in a relationship, you're constantly going to be putting yourself last. You're going to put all your needs and wants and desires behind your partner. You're going to put them first. And it might just be out of love. It might be out of, I love my partner so much, I'm going to put all his needs first. But it's not necessarily healthy at the same time. By doing this, you also show your partner that it's okay for them to also put your needs last. It's okay for them to also go out and do what they want to do and then consult you about it later, you know? Like, it doesn't matter, because I know she'll be okay with it. She's always okay with it. You want to be in a place where you can acknowledge and identify your own needs and your partner's needs and be able to compromise or have them side by side, and that's okay. Because sometimes when you're in this kind of dynamic, the other person will treat you like crap, specifically because they think, oh, well, it'll be okay. She won't leave me. She'll stay. Often, sometimes the universe will send you a relationship as a lesson, and you'll end up in a relationship with someone who isn't necessarily good to you and doesn't really treat you well, because you need to learn the lesson that I deserve more than this. I deserve better than this. People with low self-worth will go through that lesson a lot of their life. And I know, personal experience. So you'll get in this relationship and they start treating you crap, and it's not how you want to be treated, and you're unhappy with that in whichever way or shape or form that takes. You might feel a bit used by them. You might feel like they don't reciprocate how much you care and how much you love and you give to them, because they're too busy taking to be able to give anything back to you. And you'll come up to the crossroads of the decision, really. Am I going to stay in this relationship, which is pretty average and nothing probably won't change? I'm going to stay here because I know it's safe and I don't have to stand up for myself. Or am I going to jump into uncertainty and jump into growth and stand up for myself and be like, hey, no, this is not on. I deserve more than this. And potentially break up with that person if that's what it means to find a better relationship. You're going to be dealt with that lesson. If you haven't learned the lesson of loving yourself first, you're going to potentially be dealt with that lesson of finding a partner who also doesn't really put your needs first. And you're going to have to choose whether this is right for you or whether it's time to move on. And there's no right or wrong, guys. Like, everyone learns these things in their own time. Doing your inner work on self-worth and self-esteem is super important. I might actually do another video on this down the track, because I think it's something that people need in this day and age. I think it's so easy to just be running around thinking you're not good enough and trying to do all these things to make that better. But really, until you love yourself first, you can't put that love out into the world. So I know for me, one of the things I used to do is I used to stare into a mirror and I used to say, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And it was so uncomfortable at the beginning. It was so uncomfortable to look myself in the eye and to actually admit to myself, I love you. Because it just felt so arrogant and so up myself and like I wasn't good enough. And it was just uncomfortable. And I was like, what are people going to think of me? Are they going to think I'm this person who like thinks her shit don't stink? You know, like, I'm not like that at all. Once you get past all of that and past all of other people's opinions of you, you can get to a point where you're like, no, I deserve to be loved. You know what? I deserve to love myself. I was also someone who couldn't take a compliment. I couldn't say, oh, thank you, whenever someone called me pretty or someone said I was really lovely or I was really nice. I would just get really uncomfortable and just have to give them a compliment back straight away. Like, oh, but you're so great at this, or but you're so great at that. Oh, don't worry about me. It took me a while to realize that that also was a tribute of someone who had low self-worth, and that this is something I need to work on. I need to be able to sit here and be like, thank you. I appreciate that you've noticed that. And so now I do. Every time I get a compliment, I say thank you. And I just sit in gratitude as opposed to sitting in, oh no, this is uncomfortable. Because at the end of the day, if you're someone who loves yourself, you're going to attract people who also love themselves. And if you attract people who don't love themselves and are looking to treat you badly, you're not going to stand for that. You're going to be like, nope, I have my boundaries in place. I know that I'm better than this and this is not good enough. And sure, I might be able to talk it through. We might be able to fix things. But if things don't get fixed, I am strong enough within myself to say, you know what, I'll be okay. I'll be okay to move on. Because I deserve more and I deserve better. Whereas if you're someone who hates yourself and constantly tells yourself horrible things, and treats yourself like you're dirt. Self-hate will attract a partner who blames you for everything and says it's always your fault. And you're actually going to question this because you know, oh, maybe I make too many mistakes, or maybe I stuff up too much, or I'm just a bad person, you know, I did this one thing one time and it was really mean. And so when someone tells you, oh, you've done that wrong, you're going to sit there and question, oh, did I do that wrong? Have I upset them? Oh my God, am I a bad person? And it's just going to be a revolving cycle of the other person treating you negatively and you actually taking that on board. And I think I know which one I would definitely pick, guys. At the end of the day, self-worth means you have boundaries. It means you know when enough is enough, and you know what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. And that's really important in relationships, because if you don't have boundaries, the other person will, like, subconsciously or consciously walk all over you without even really meaning to. They might be upsetting you and they might not even realize what they're doing. But because you kind of haven't said anything, it becomes more of a big deal. I think it's super important to have self-worth, and I think that's what we accept the love we truly deserve means. So yeah, let me know in the comments. I want to know, have you been through this experience? Have you been in a relationship where you've been like, enough is enough? And like, what did it take you to get to that point? Thanks, guys.